This is the fourth lecture on Riemann integration. So we were at mathematical formulation of the popular belief that any function can be the area of any function can be found by subdividing the domain into slimmer and slimmer rectangles. So we are in the middle of formulate that mathematically, and after that we will be investigating whether that is true or not. Now, in the last class we were stuck at this point. So we were able to formalize, we were able to accommodate two perturbations, that is of unequal partition points and any arbitrary choice of the tags in the partition, in the not partition, in the subintervals. So these two perturbations we could accommodate, and then we end up with this sum. So this is the sum we want to investigate. This is the quantity we want to investigate against the popular belief. Now, exactly this is not the quantity. This the popular belief says you have to make the rectangle slimmer and slimmer. So that would definitely call for some limiting process. Now the question is, what quantity shall we put over here? The limit will be taken on which variable? How will you characterize the width of the subintervals are going to zero or diminishing? Now here you see, if I increase my number of intervals over here, number of subintervals over here in this side, if we increase the number of subintervals only in this side, will it ever reach to the exact area in the limiting process? So n tending to infinity, not r actually, r is the running variable, so n, which is the number of subintervals introduced, if n tends to infinity, then this does not capture the actual idea over here. We need something stronger. As Rashmi wanted to say in the last class, that all these xr minus 1, they should be tending to 0. Now xr minus 1, these things are points on the partition, and if you want all of them to be tending to 0, then here you need to stack up n many variables. x1 minus x0 tends to 0, x2 minus x1 tends to 0, x3 minus x2 tends to 0. So there will be an n many points of n many variables over here, and that will be too complicated. So how do we handle that? Each one of the lengths of the subintervals are going to 0. Then which quantity will single-handedly imply that all the lengths of the subintervals are going to 0? Which length, if we impose the condition that it is going to 0, it will automatically propagate the condition to other intervals as well, other subintervals as well. The maximum one, whichever has the maximum length, if we can make that tend to 0, then the rest of the things will also tend to 0. So as Rajiv said, n is tending to infinity. Only saying n tending to infinity by increasing more and more points of subdivision over here does not guarantee that the all the rectangles are going to be slim. No, we have to break everything. We have to break every possible partition subinterval. And how do we guarantee that? By making the largest subinterval, the length of largest subinterval going to 0. If we can make the maximum length of the subinterval going to 0, then that maximum one is one single variable. Instead of writing n many variables over here, we will be writing one single variable that going to 0, and that we need to make some sense of. So for that we have this next definition, what is called the norm of a partition. That maximum length is called the norm of a partition. Norm of a partition P is equals to maximum of the distance, the length of the subintervals xr minus xr minus 1. Okay, the modulus is not needed, because of course xr's are always a little bit typing mistake also there. The comma will not be here, and modulus will not be here, because xr's are definitely strictly greater than xr minus 1. So this is called the norm of a partition. Observe that norm of a tagged partition does not depend on the chosen tag, right? Because here you see there is no tags are not appearing. If you have xi1, xi2 up to xin tags in the RS subinterval, that tag will have, those tags will have nothing to do in the norm of that partition. Hence, the quantity we need to investigate against the traditional belief is, so this is the portion that this thing we have found out, that what should be going to zero, that is norm of any tagged partition going to zero of this this quantity is p bar f. The Riemann sum of of the function f with respect to the partition, tagged partition p bar. That is, I have just written the definition of f p bar f. There is limit p norm of p bar going to 0. R runs from 1 to n, xr minus 1 into f of xi r. So this is the quantity. We want to find the limit of this quantity and see whether this is actually and this exists for every function or not. This limit should give us the area of the function bounded by the ordinates a and b. This limit, if exists, must be the area. We are sure of that, right? So our question is to check whether this limit exists for every function or not. That is what we want to do now. We need to understand one thing, that we need to reinterpret this portion limit delta, the norm p bar tending to 0, because this one limit x tends to 5 of x square is equal to 25. This means that as x is tending to 5, x square is tending to 25. Now this x square, this quantity is completely defined in terms of the independent variable x. But over here, in this case, we are saying that norm p is tending to 0. Norm p is tending to 0, and here the quantity is not defined in terms of norm p. The quantity is defined in terms of p or p bar. Why do we care? Because a norm of two partitions can be same, but the partitions can be different. So that means norm of a particular partition does not fix the partition. For different partitions, we can have same norm. So here, limit of the limit is on the variable p bar, norm of p bar tending to 0, and this quantity is not a direct function of norm of p bar. So this definition of limit requires a little bit more explanation. This explanation will actually give us the proper formulation of the popular belief what we are trying to do. So we are just one step away from the complete mathematical formulation of what engineers have been doing since many centuries. The claim is, let f be any arbitrary function defined over the closed and bounded interval ab, any arbitrary function. Then there exists a real number AF stands for area, AF such that this limit is AF. This the Riemann sum limit as norm p bar tending to 0, this limit is AF. This is the engineer's claim for many centuries. What Riemann is investigating now. Okay, now after this we have the explanation of this limit. Okay, so explanation of this limit means so this quantity limit of this function is equal to AF. So these two portions must be closed together, and for closing together we must have an epsilon positive, right? So we start with, so what we are doing over here, we are reinterpreting this limit. Okay, so for all epsilon positive, there exists a delta positive. Okay, this one is tending to 0, such that, forget about this part over here, such that norm of p bar is less than delta. Okay, so we took the cue from our usual definition of limits only. There exists delta such that for every x, so that the distance of x from 5 is less than delta, for every x. So this is what we are doing over here, that for every tagged partition p, such that the norm of that stacked partition less than delta. Whenever we have a stacked partition P such that the norm is smaller than delta, then the Riemann sum with respect to that stacked partition will be epsilon close to AF. This is the reinterpreted definition of the limit. Okay, so this is how we deal with the problem that this quantity S P bar F does not directly depend on the norm of P bar, where P bar is the set of all tagged partitions of AB. P bar is the set of all tagged partitions of AB. Okay, I chose, without the bar as the collection of all partitions, and here I'm using the notation with the bar, set of all tagged partitions of AB. Fine. An exercise, immediate exercise. Observe that for a given function f on defined over a closed bounded interval AB, AF, this area, if exists, must be unique. This one you will not find in any book. This one you will not. You need to get the idea of how to prove the uniqueness of limits by going back to the by the limits of sequences and all those things. Get the idea from there, apply the same over here, and show me this one before the next class. What do you think of this claim? Will this claim be true?